Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Plan Commission ARB meeting for February 7th. On various agenda items, anyone in the audience may raise their hand if they so wish to make a comment. At that time, we'll let you in. Let's start out with the roll call. Anissa?
Okay. Chair Steve Lichtenfeld.
Here.
David Gibson.
Here.
Helen DeFate. Here. Bob Dunlow. George Heddick.
Here.
Carolyn Gatus.
Here.
Ira Berkowitz.
Here.
Okay. We have minutes from the previous meeting on January 18th. They were not very long, but were there any corrections that have not been submitted?
I'm not sure what was submitted, but George was at that meeting. He just came in late.
Okay, well, okay, so usually we put came in at a certain time.
Right. Yeah, I didn't see anything on there. Just said not in
Okay.
attendance.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes with that one change.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Before we go on to new business, I wanted to bring two items up. Number one, there's a minor change to the agenda. Under other business, the CUP discussion will come on Wednesday, the 23rd of February, in lieu of tonight. And secondly, we discovered this afternoon that on the pending application page on the city website, possibly due to the redesign of the website, the 50 South Bemiston project materials did not show up under project materials. They showed up under the project location. However, Anissa has been working on it, and I believe it's all back to normal now. Is that correct? Okay.
That's correct.
Thank you. Okay. So with that, we can move on to new business. First item, 227 South Central.
This is for the site plan review. The subject property is 15,183 square feet and is located on South Central Avenue between Bonham and Shaw Park Drive. The applicant proposes to demolish the existing building and construct an 11-story, 118,275 square foot hotel building containing guest rooms, meeting rooms, and a restaurant. This project was previously before the Plan Commission on February 19th, 2019, and received approval from the Commission with several conditions, which are outlined in the staff report. The developer did not obtain an approved building permit for the project within 1 year. Per code, site plan approval shall be void unless a building permit has been issued within 1 year of the date of approval. Therefore, this required an extension prior to February 19th, 2020, which was not obtained. Subsequently, on January 11th, 2022, the Board of Aldermen approved a request to waive the time limit within which an extension request is to be filed and approved an extension of the planned unit development permit deadline to commence construction through June 30th of this year. However, the site plan similarly requires a time extension to be granted by the Plan Commission and the reapproval of the plan submitted for site plan review. The developer based its request for the extension on the COVID pandemic and funding for the capital markets and construction financing associated with hotel development. The developer has resubmitted the plans that were previously approved by the Plan Commission. Staff is not aware of any change of circumstance in the area which would call into question the design and materials of the building that were previously approved. Staff's recommendation is to waive the 1 year time limit and extend the site plan approval with the following conditions. First, that the entire north-south alley shall be replaced in full width, end-to-end at completion of construction. Second, identify the existing concrete median extending north and south Central Avenue on the civil sheets and agree to escrow the funds to install the median extension. Third, the decorative pavers shown in the right-of-way shall be concrete in accordance with city streetscape standards. 4, proposed street trees shown on the landscape plan shall be of the variety of columnar oak species. 5, the applicant shall install 7 bicycle racks along the block or on site. 6, the applicant shall provide information to address outstanding comments from the CDB traffic impact study and the parking memo, both dated February 18th, 2019. 7, the owner shall execute a use and maintenance agreement with the city for canopy and improvements located in right-of-way. 8, the approved development plan and planned unit development ordinance shall be recorded with St. Louis County and proof of recording submitted to the city prior to the issuance of a building permit. And 9, work with the city to secure 3 additional public parking spaces on the street to the south for professional valet. The original site plan staff report from February of 19 is included in the report for this year. Be advised that that report written combined the reports for the rezoning, site plan, and planned unit development. As the planned unit development has been extended by the Board of Aldermen, only the site plan review is under consideration at this time. And that concludes my presentation.
Okay, thank you. I see we have Scott Boyle and Steve Anderson, looks like Sam Kotler, and Nathan, I can't see your last name. Who would like to respond to the staff report?
This is Stephen Anderson here. I think we're in agreement with the previous approval that was given to us a couple of years ago, back in, what was it, February of 2019. And if the conditions remain the same, we would be very happy to accept them.
Okay, well, thank you. We would certainly like to hear the staff recommendation with the various points, if each one is being attended to and agreed to. Either Stephen or Scott. Actually, I see all of you are unmuted at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only one out of the 7 staff level recommendations was the requirement to secure the 20 additional parking spaces that we disagree with based on our evaluation of the site, and that use of the underground portion of our controlled parking area allows us to valet on the spot, getting us really up to the quantity of parking spaces we're comfortable to operate this size of a property with. Urban environments like this, close to public transit, as well as the use of Uber, Lyft, and other rideshare services, have reduced the quantity of parking spaces needed. And we think that we should be adequate with what we have today.
Okay, Stephen, I think that was item number 7 from the site plan conditions from February of 19. If you have the staff report, there are staff recommendations for tonight on page 2, where it says to waive the 1-year time limit and extend the site plan approval with the following conditions. And there are 9 of them there. Would you like to address any or all of them and indicate agreement or disagreement?
I think we're in agreement with them. Sorry, I was reading the notes from the end of the staff level report. I apologize. Let me double check. Yeah, all of those are all 9 of those are acceptable. Yes.
Okay. Any other comments from the applicant group? No. Okay. Are there any hands up in the audience, either David or Anissa?
No, sir.
No.
Okay. Okay, then we'll go around the commission And I find actually no problem with it. The one question that I did have was I could not find the concrete median extending north in South Central Avenue on the civil drawings. Can someone point it out to me?
Nate, would you like to address that?
Could share the drawings if that helps. So the civil plans, we're talking about the median along in Central Avenue.
Yes. Mhm.
Um,
Is that indicated on the drawings anywhere?
I think the intention was that that was not going to be in our scope. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sam.
Yeah, that's correct. So that we were just supposed to escrow agreed upon funds, and then how that was to be designed and constructed was up to the city.
Okay. Then I think that I assumed there would be a drawing that would have shown it, but we'll leave it up to Public Works after.
Yeah, I don't think it's been drawn yet.
Correct. Mr. Chair, I believe that came from the traffic impact study that was put together for this project. So the specific design wasn't included in the plan documents, but the existence of the median was something that the traffic plan had called for.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Then I think, Nathan, you may be able to answer my next question. And I think you see it on that sheet. There's a space between, well, actually, no, that's the existing building. But there seems to be a space right along there where you're moving the cursor between the existing and then the new building and the garage. Is that correct?
That is correct.
But it is on the hotel property.
If I remember correctly, the property line bisects that space, and this is the edge of the parking garage there at the north corner, and we are set back from that property line. So there is a space between the parking garage and our building.
Okay. And it's split between the ownership of the two entities.
The space between, yes.
Yes. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Let's see if there were any other questions. Carolyn? And this is site plan review.
Right. I actually thought you were gonna ask the question I wanted to ask. What happens between those two buildings? What is that material space? How many people can hide in there and jump out at me and knock me on the head? I mean, all that good stuff. Yeah, what
I
happened?
think today there's a fence already at the end of that I would assume is installed
Yeah.
between the two buildings to control access. And it's just the paved hard surface that it is today, because today it's a hard surface
Right.
concrete, and that would just be restored, and then the fence would be enclosed. Because I'm in agreement with you. I don't want
It's
this
just weird. Yeah.
opening
Weird
right next
leftover
to.
space. Yeah.
Yeah,
So you'd add a fence back in once that building is demolished, and
yes, there
Correct.
would be the fence backup that was originally there, or one that looks better than that probably, but because that's right at our front door, but we would restore that.
yeah,
fence.
that's what I was going to ask you. I mean, the material, it would be nice if it was a little nicer than, what's there. Even, so.
Like or like a metal picket fencing, but we can, whatever space is between there, we would close off.
That's actually the only question I had because I was on the committee when we reviewed you in 2019. We had asked a bunch of questions back then. So I agree with the staff recommendations. So we can move on to the next person.
Okay, George.
No, I was a participant when this first came up, and I have no additional questions at this time.
Okay, Helen.
No additional questions.
David.
Nothing additional. Everything's the same from the previous approval. So,
Right.
Thank you.
And Ira.
Well, so I understand what we're doing here today or tonight. This plan was originally approved, but it was also approved with staff recommendations, correct? From before. And so
Yes.
I'm wondering, and I think there was some mention by the developer about maybe not agreeing with one or two of these staff recommendations, or I might have heard that wrong. But are we also focused on the prior staff recommendations that have not yet been fulfilled?
So just to jump in here, there were original staff recommendations in 2019 that were not adopted by the Plan Commission at that time. So the staff recommendations before you today are the same that were in the final motion from the Plan Commission in 2019.
Okay, so they've been accumulated now. That the final actual set of recommendations is what you have on page 2 of our agenda.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess one of my questions has to do with the bicycles, and I know that was in the prior staff recommendation. Are we going to accommodate the 7 bicycle racks that were requested?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I remember sort of wondering about how you're dealing with parking in a situation on a street where I know the median is going to get extended, and now you'll have basically one lane of traffic. And then will there be parking in front of the hotel? Is that what you're planning, or just you're going to carve out? Are you going to cut in some space for drop off?
So, yeah, this drawing here shows the drop off. Those are 3 parking spaces, which, if you'll read in the notes, were intended to be picked up as valet spaces from the city. That was mentioned in the notes, and then they will leave that drop off zone, and because this will be valet for the most part. And they will exit, just go straight south, plant south, and enter that parking deck entrance that's right there to go to the existing underground parking that is used for, or previously used for, the police vehicles, but is now controlled by this property.
So will people who are coming for drop off, will they have to take the valet, or what if they don't want to?
Well, as anybody else in the city, they're free to park within the deck, the public deck that's there, but they cannot park in the drop-off area. If they want to self-park, they can, but our intent is to push those people to valet.
So we think 3 spaces out front is sufficient for a hotel with how many units, how many rooms?
100 or
207.
207.
207.
It's tight, but that's what our property allots right there on the front of it. So we don't really have a whole lot else to work with. That being said, I mean, the way to overcome that really is with staffing. You have to staff your valet per your flow. And if your flow is heavy and you only have a few queuing spots, then you have to staff a little bit heavier. And as things ramp up, we will have to do that, I'm sure.
I'm wondering if is there some way that we can enforce that, Steve, or make sure that they staff it, adequately to, because there's going to be double parking over there. I mean, there's no way around it. I know it.
Yeah, I mean, if someone stops in the middle of the street, then and stops the flow of traffic, then I would expect blue lights behind them, because they can't just park their car in the middle of the street. Beyond that, I don't know of a way to enforce it. I mean, there's properties that have 3 drop-offs or three spots for drop-off all over the place, not just Clayton, Missouri.
Yeah, no, I sympathize. I obviously it's a tight space and tough to deal with, but I certainly hate to see a traffic jam at rush hour, with people coming to the hotel and then people trying to get out of Clayton.
Well, the benefit we have too with the location is that the underground area in the garage is literally right next door. So the valets won't be, you know, sprinting several blocks or anything. So they're, you know, they're right next door. So
Yeah, it's a quick drop off.
Mhm.
There's a drawing showing that lower level parking just right adjacent to our drop off.
It's also right next to Metrolink, which is huge, I think. So,
Correct.
Yeah, hopefully people will arrive by Metro. Yeah, that would help out a lot.
Also, I think when they're up and running and the afternoon rush hour occurs, I think the staff and the hotel ownership will probably realize they'll have to control it very closely. Otherwise, the police will show up.
Well, and not just the police, but guest satisfaction will go down very quickly, and we live and die by guest satisfaction. And if they have issues getting in and out of the property, we will be forced by our own pocketbook to fix that problem, or we won't have, you know, high paying guests coming to our property. So, I mean, above and beyond the police issues, it's a dollars and cents issue to us if we don't control that flow.
Right. I'm just suggesting, I don't know what your solution would be if it happens. You know, I'm just not sure what you have available to you. I don't have anything else to.
Okay, thanks, Ira. Any further comments from the commission members?
I have one additional comment, Mr. Chair. The only thing that's changed from 2019 to now, from a regulatory standpoint, this kind of dawned on me just a few minutes ago, is the outdoor lighting standards. If we could just add a condition that the project to be compliant with those standards, I think it is, just briefly looking at the exterior lighting plan. But I just want to make sure that that's part of the staff review when the building permits are submitted.
Okay.
And specifically, that's section 405.360 of the Code of Ordinances. So we just want to make sure they comply with that particular section.
Okay. Okay, we will add that in to the 9 others that we have.
Great,
Okay.
thank you.
Thanks, David. Any further comment from the applicants? Hearing none, we do have a staff recommendation to waive the 1-year time limit and extend the site plan approval with the following 9 plus the additional one that David Gibson was describing. So 10 conditions that we have now. Do we have a motion including that compliant with the updated outdoor lighting found in the Code of Ordinances 405.360?
Before we move to that, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, what is the time limit of the extension?
Let's see, I believe they had to break ground by a specific date. I'll have to find it.
Can we put that in the recommendation, please? I believe it says June 30th, 2022.
There it is, yes. Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you, George. Let's add that in. So we now have 11 conditions, okay? Do we have a motion to that effect?
yeah, I'll make a motion to take staff's recommendation to waive the 1-year time limit and extend the site plan approval. Should I add in the break ground date in June to that part, or add a number?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. to waive the 1-year time limit and extend the site plan approval with breaking ground June 11th, was it? 2022?
June 30th.
Thank you, 30th, 2022. 1 through 9 remain as is. We added a number 10. The project will be in compliance with the current lighting codes found in 405.360. Can I add the one about putting the fence back in that little gap, or is that just a given?
It's okay to put it in. That'll just make it definite.
Okay, that's what I thought. Right, adding a number, excuse me, number 12, to have the developer add back in a fence between the garage, the existing garage, and the new constructed building on the south side of the project property, southeast. We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, site plan is approved. And Anissa, let's go on to the next item, which is the ARB approval.
Okay. This is for the architectural review approval. Similar to the site plan approval, there are code requirements for obtaining a building permit within 1 year of architectural review board approval. The developer based its requests on the COVID pandemic and the capital markets and construction financing for hotel development. Similar to the site plan review, the developer has resubmitted the plans that were previously approved by the Architectural Review Board. City staff is not aware of any change or circumstance in the area which would call into question the design and materials of the building that were previously approved. Staff's recommendation is to waive the 1 year time limit and extend the Architectural Review Board approval with the following condition as noted in the original 2019 approval, that the applicant shall remove the canopy sign from the proposed plans. And that concludes my presentation.
Okay, thank you. The applicants, any response or additions or questions?
Unless you tell me I interpreted this one wrong again, which may be true, but the sign that they asked us to remove in the notes was not the canopy sign, it was sign A. And sign A is to the left of the canopy on the wood look wall, or not wood look wall, but the vertical strip wall. Nate, can you pull up the drawings? Yeah, that's sign A that was mentioned in the meeting notes from the previous approval. And I would still prefer to remove sign A. I feel that this AC Hotel Clayton is iconic to the brand and will bring a very urban upscale look to the front of this property. But that's really my only note on that, is hopefully a little clarity.
Okay. I may have missed that. But okay, are there any other comments from the applicant before we go on? No. Okay. Well, I'll start. Actually, I was going to suggest the same thing because I see 2 AC hotels underlined with the Marriott name. And it seems like the one next to the door would be the more prominent one. And I also like the AC Hotel Clayton sign, even though it doesn't really fit our design guidelines. But I think it would be at a location that would really help identify that mid-block hotel where it's standing. So I would feel, to make sure that we get under the proper square footage of signage, as what Stephen Anderson was saying, I would be willing to get rid of the larger AC Hotel sign right there. Otherwise, as far as the building goes, it's identical in design. I think it's a very contemporary, exciting design, which we're looking for more of that in downtown Clayton. And even though it looks somewhat irregular, it has a regularity to it on the facade. And I like how it transitions from the base up to the top, where it becomes more and more open. So I think it's a very good solid void study. And the two parts, the dark part on the left or the south side, as well as where the white fins are, I think are a striking addition to our skyline. So except for the signage that we were talking about, I'm very comfortable with it. But let's go around. Carolyn?
I had the same question about the signage of which one to remove. And I agree with Steve. I had the same reaction to the larger AC on the wall. That could go away. So that was my only comment.
Okay. George?
No other comments except for the same condition here. I think we need to have the June 30th deadline inside here instead of just an open extension.
Okay. Helen?
I agree with Steve, Carolyn, and George.
Thank you. Let's see, David?
Nothing further.
Okay. Ira?
Yeah, I agree that the sign is attractive. I like that. I think that that should be kept. And I agree with George that we need to reinforce the start date. So, other than that, no comments.
Okay. Any further comments from the applicant?
Nope.
And David, I assume there are no hands up?
No hands are up.
Okay. Well, then we do have a staff recommendation again to waive the 1-year time limit and extend the ARB approval with now 2 conditions. And we need to change the number 1, that the applicant shall remove the larger AC sign from the south part of the facade from the proposed plans, keeping the signage on the canopy. And number 2, to bring in the June 30th permit expiration for the beginning of the project. Any changes to any of those? To either of those? No.
I'll make
If
a,
not,
Yep.
Carolyn?
I'll make a motion to approve staff recommendation with, well, actually, I make a motion to approve. Number 1 is to remove the larger sized AC hotel sign from the southeast side of the building and to keep the actual signage on the canopy. Then number 2 is to waive the 1-year time limit while requiring a deadline date for breaking ground of June 30th, 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We've approved both the site plan and the architectural, and hopefully we'll be seeing work on the site very soon. We thank you for coming back. We're excited to have this project in the city, and we wish you the best in getting it going and up and running.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have item number 3, 8140 Kingsbury. Anissa?
This is for the review of the design and materials associated with driveway modifications, a rear deck, and minor facade changes. The 6,000 square foot site is located on the south side of Kingsbury Boulevard between North Forsyth and North Brentwood. The property has a zoning designation of R2 Single Family Dwelling District and is located in the Clayton Gardens Urban Design District. In August of 2021, the ARB approved the demolition of the existing home and the construction of a 3,157 square foot single-family residence. And on October 4th, 2021, the ARB approved a new detached garage. The applicant has proposed the following changes to the approved principal structure. 1, the addition of a basement window with window well on the left elevation and 2 windows on the right elevation along the driveway. 2, the addition of a rear composite deck in an interior elevation. 3, the removal of 2 windows on the rear elevation and the addition of a new door. Excuse me. And 4, the addition of a 2-foot grass strip in the driveway. The proposed deck will replace an approved wood landing and steps. While staff has no objection to the design and materials of the proposed deck, the deck increases the amount of impervious coverage on the site. At the time of approval of the new detached garage in October of 2021, the proposed impervious coverage was maxed out at 55%. To address the increase in impervious coverage associated with the deck, the applicant has proposed a 2-foot strip of grass in the 10-foot wide driveway, which will lead from the back of the sidewalk to the back edge of the home. The proposed grass strip results in a ribbon driveway, which is prohibited per architectural design standards for residential driveways. Staff is of the opinion that the proposed deck and driveway changes should not be approved. Impervious coverage in the Clayton Gardens Urban Design District is more restrictive than in typical residential zoning districts to ensure that infill and redevelopment is compatible with the established character. The resulting ribbon driveway necessary to achieve the 55% maximum with the proposed deck is not complementary with other driveways in the area. Staff's recommendation is to approve the changes to the elevation of the home only and to deny the proposed driveway and decking changes. That concludes my presentation.
Okay, thank you. Do
Mr.
we
Chair,
have the applicant?
yeah, if the applicant could raise their hand, I will pull them over to the panelist side. Here we go.
Okay, Mike, if you would unmute yourself, give us your name and respond to the staff report.
Yes, I'm Mike Thompson, Thompson Design Group. We're the architect on the project. As far as you've seen the minor changes to the elevations. Essentially, we've added more glass to the project, so more windows, and even where we took out the windows in the back, the door is larger, considerably larger. So as far as I think just the concerns on the deck, from the deck that was originally approved, yes, we've added another 70. So we're asking to add another 76 square feet of deck to the project, which works out to in impervious coverage 0.65%. I guess we didn't realize that that the ribbon driveway was not allowed. We've seen one on 8129 Pershing. There's a ribbon driveway on a fairly new house. So assuming from that we could do that is why we proposed that. We don't need nearly that large of a area to offset this small amount of deck. So that could be moved further to the rear if you don't want to see it from the street, or something else could be done. I mean, it's equivalent to like taking 6 inches of driveway away, making the driveway 6 inches narrower. So a fairly small change. We're still considerably smaller, or the original residence that was there was up about 56% impervious surface, so we'd still be below that. So in either case, we've made the site better.
Okay, was that it, Mike?
Yes, I think so, unless you have other questions.
Okay, well, we may. We'll
Okay.
see as we go ahead. I'll start with some comments. I strongly feel that we need to adhere to our architectural design standards for the residential areas. As we see new homes being built, they are larger homes, replacing smaller homes and covering more of the site. And the impervious coverage limit, I think, is very important, especially on the smaller sites. We have had water problems in our city before, and I think we need to maintain that 55% maximum. So I would follow the staff recommendation to deny the proposed driveway and decking changes. If that driveway, as the architect has indicated, could be narrowed to bring everything back down to the 55%, I'd be in favor of that. But let's go around and see what everyone else is saying. Carolyn?
Yeah, that's actually what I was going to suggest. Is there someplace else to grab that small percentage back in order to get what the homeowner wants to have on their house? Is there another place that you could grab a small percentage to make up for the additional deck, other than the driveway center?
Well, I mean, just another thought as I was throwing out thoughts to the owner today is another way of doing it would be like pervious pavers type thing back by the garage turnaround, something that you wouldn't see from the street. I'm assuming the ribbon driveway is a visual thing that you think is incompatible with the neighborhood there. So I said, if we could do something with that turnaround pad, there's several pavers that are give you 20-30% pervious, water can go through them, that kind of thing, or something like that.
I don't think the city recognizes permeable pavers just yet. No. Because of the clay soils that we have, it would have to be pretty dramatic. But it also is not in the code. I just wonder if there's another way to look at it. I don't know what the answer is right now, but I encourage you to try to find it, because it doesn't seem like that there's that much room to make up for.
Right.
Those are my comments. Yeah.
It's Mike, it's certainly less than 1% of the overall coverage. However, I think it's the principle that we need to uphold and not set a precedent, because if we begin to allow it to go over 55%, who knows where it will stop. So I will stand by that, but let's go on through our members. George?
Steve, I think you have summed it up very well. I am not in favor of using a ribbon driveway here, and as both you and Carolyn have stated, bring something. Maybe there's somewhere else that you can do it, pick up that small amount of square footage, but I'm not in favor of the ribbon driveway at all.
Okay. Helen?
I would agree. I am not in favor of the ribbon strip in the driveway, and even if it weren't in the guidelines, the design parameters, it's still, when you think of the snow that we've got now, how do you clear the snow off that narrow strip of grass? Does the bottom of the car clear it? It may if you hit it at the right time, but if it starts to freeze, then no, the bottom of the car probably won't clear it. And then you'll be out there, or someone will be out there with a shovel or a snow blower, and the grass that looks beautiful in the spring will no longer look beautiful. You will have mud when it comes to the spring. So I don't see a grass strip as ever being practical except in climates where you don't get snow, or snow is a rare occasion. How wide is the driveway?
It's 10 feet right now.
You realize that highways, the lane that you drive in at 60 plus miles an hour on a highway is 11 feet wide.
Mhm. Right.
You know, can you pick up 6 inches the length of that driveway?
And that would do, basically, if we picked up, well, the driveway's 78 feet long, and we need to pick up 39 square feet. So that's why I said, yeah, 6 inches of driveway would do it. We had a 9.5 foot driveway, which I don't think is impractical, in that you're probably going 5 miles an hour or less on the
Right.
driveway. So it's not really difficult to keep control. A normal parking space that we all pull into is 9 feet wide. So it's
Yeah.
even less than that, and we don't seem to run into each other all that much. So
No, I would say reduce the size of the driveway, and then I would be comfortable with the deck, because you would be meeting the requirements. And I think, as Steve mentioned, it's important to observe the requirements and not start saying, well, it's only so many square feet. There's a number, and I think we need to abide by it. So my thoughts.
Okay, thank you. David?
I guess my only question would be for staff as to whether or not we have a driveway width minimum.
Yeah.
The 9.5 is a great solution if we don't.
I would need to look into that, but I don't believe that we do.
Okay. And Susan, I think you're on. If you can hear us, I don't know if you're aware of any driveway width regulation.
You are,
I'm sorry, David. I'm sorry. I'm sitting here training Lori. Were you talking to me?
Yes. So on the,
Okay.
so we're talking about the driveway, and they basically need to pick up an additional 6 inches or so on the driveway if possible. A possible solution would be to narrow the driveway from 10 feet down to 9.5 feet. And I was just curious as to whether or not there's a driveway minimum width in the code. I've not had a chance to pull it up just yet.
No, there isn't. There's width limits at the apron.
Okay.
I don't believe there's a width limit for that property at that address. So no.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Ira?
yeah, no, I think in light of, we're talking Clayton Gardens, and I think that the homes around there, they have quite a bit more green space than probably others. And so I think it's already not, in my opinion, it's already non-conforming with the neighborhood as it is. But if you can get within the rule, I guess you get within the rule. So, but it's got to be within the rule.
Thanks, Ira. Mike, any further comment?
Well, my only other question would be, I know right now you're requiring, or the civil engineer on his plan is figuring the deck as a 50% impervious. Whereas I think, at least practically, on a composite deck, I would guess at least 95% of the water falls through the deck onto the dirt below. So in a real world situation, it's not 50% impervious. Now, whether we have to figure it that way, I mean, that would be the other way that would make up the difference without having to do anything else. Was just to consider what truly how much water a deck truly pushes away.
Well, I don't think we had considered that yet. And Anissa, do you know what a deck would be considered pervious or impervious, and what percentages?
If it is slatted, 75% would be counted as
75% pervious?
impervious.
Impervious.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, if I may, with respect to the driveway width, section 405.3650 of the Clayton City Code provides that each required parking space shall be provided satisfactory egress to a street or alley by a surface driveway. The width of such driveways and arrangements shall be approved by the Director of Public Works. So there is no 6-inch adjustment would appear to be in conformity if approved by the Director of Public Works.
Not up to us.
okay. Thank you, Kevin.
Sorry?
It's not up to us. It's up to the Department of Public Works.
Correct, but the plan being 9 feet 6 inches instead of 10 would not be contrary to any standards that you're applying in this review.
Right.
Okay, so we have the issue is we need to get it down to the 55% coverage, okay? Impervious coverage. And it sounds like you could modify the width of the driveway, or as Anissa said, the deck would be considered 75% impervious. I don't think we're going to be able to sit here and work out all the details. What I would recommend is that we do make a recommendation and that you, Mike, and the owner put your heads together, come up with it, and submit it back to staff for final approval.
Okay.
And that might be quicker than coming back to us.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Mhm.
We don't want to make it any bigger than it really has to be.
Right. It is, like, as you said, it is, we're not even 1%, so.
Right.
But it's an important percent, but yeah, it's still a small problem.
Well, we're not into setting precedents. So we want to keep the 55% impervious max.
Mhm.
Kevin, did you have a comment?
Well, just, I think in that case, the motion would be to approve with staff recommendations, et cetera, and subject to the applicant making adjustments, plan adjustments approved by city staff so as to bring it into conformity with the permissible impervious surface requirements.
Thank you.
Did we ask for participants, any attendees to speak? Did we ask for that?
Yes.
Okay.
David, are there any hands up?
No, not at the moment.
No. Okay. Carolyn, would you like to make a motion following what Kevin indicated?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve with the staff recommendation with the caveat that the developer, architect, civil can come back and modify the width of the driveway or by any other means found necessary to get the percentage of impervious back down to 55% and to review with staff all of the design changes for approval.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ira.
By the way she was done, I wasn't sure when she was going to.
I know, I could keep going, but no.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you, Mike.
All right, thank you.
I'm sure staff will look forward to getting your response.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Here we have a conceptual review coming up next. And let's see. Is the applicant here for 50 South Beamiston? Well, it looks like Jack Halloran is here.
I am.
Okay, good. Well, then we can start since you're here.
Great. Oh, great. Steve, Mr. Chairman, board members, I'm really happy to show you what we've been working on for the last several months and get your input on the conceptual design so we can continue on with the project. This will be our second tower building in Clayton. So we're really excited to be back at Clayton and present this particular project. So do we call up this drawings or how does this work?
Jack, before we do that, we'd like to go through the staff report first,
Great.
and then we will get back to you. So Anissa.
Very good, thank you.
The 39,921 square foot site is comprised of multiple parcels located at the northeast corner of the intersection of South Beamiston Avenue and Carondelet Avenue. The properties have a zoning designation of HDC High Density Commercial District. The site is currently improved with 3 buildings of various stories, including the Sterling Bank Building on the corner of Beamiston Avenue and Carondelet Avenue. Surrounding land uses include office, hotel, and institutional uses, as well as public parking. The proposed, the proposed project consists of the demolition of the existing buildings and the construction of a 427,800 square foot, 20-story mixed-use building measuring 225 feet in height. The building will contain 5,500 square feet of ground floor retail space, 291,000 square feet of residential space comprising 270 apartment units and associated amenities, and 12,650 square feet of office space. The building will be constructed primarily of concrete, terracotta, or glass fiber reinforced concrete walls with accents of metal panels and architectural reveals. The applicant is seeking the PUD zoning planned unit development as the proposed project differs from the zoning ordinance in terms of the number of square footage required for each residential unit. The proposed footprint does not meet the front setback, and the floor area ratio exceeds the maximum allowed. A project of this scale requires a thorough staff review prior to a public hearing. The project will be reviewed and is subject to comments by the planning, public works, and fire departments, as well as the city's contracted consultants, and will be before both the Plan Commission and the Board of Aldermen. Staff recommends that the Plan Commission Architectural Review Board consider the proposal and provide input. This is conceptual review only, and therefore any comments made in this report or at the meeting, either by the applicant, staff, or the commission members, are not binding. Comments from the Planning and Public Works departments are noted on page 2 of the staff report. And that concludes my presentation.
Okay, thank you. Jack, before we go on, I think you're familiar with the conceptual review process. And as Anissa just indicated, any of the comments by any of the parties are not binding because we do have a formal process that we will go through in the future. So with that in mind, if you'd like to take over and lead us through the project.
Very good, I'll do that. Anissa, sorry, I tried to jump ahead of you. I didn't realize that you were reading the report to us. Let's see if we get the drawings up.
Mr.
Very
Chairman?
good.
Mr.
Yes.
Chairman, would you please have Jack identify the 2 individuals sitting with him so we could, for the record, please?
Sure. With me is Josh Goodman, who is the project director of the project on the architectural side, HDA Architects, and Jerry Krylan, who's developer with Green Street.
Thank you.
Okay. Very good. So on your screen, you should see a shot of the existing conditions, the existing corner. Everybody see that?
Yes.
Good. Okay, then we're well connected. So this is a shot looking southwest at Sterling Bank on the corner that you're familiar with. And then behind it is the 8-story, what they call the Clayton Tower building that will come down. And adjacent to that is a 3-level Natalie Gale office building. So those 3 buildings will come down and that'll take us all the way to Centene's parking garage. And then to the left there, you can see some other shots looking down the street. Probably the one you're most interested in probably is the center one. The view southeast shows the Brown Plaza Hotel, which is directly across the street. Okay. So we have a existing site survey here, and a couple things to point out. It does show the 3 building footprint there, but along the alley, it's existing 20-foot wide alley that we will widen to 24-foot wide. We'll be removing the electrical poles that are along the alley, and we'll eliminate any parking in the alley. So right now there's some surface parking, and then there's an entry to the parking garage where the cursor is. So we'll eliminate that too. So this will clean up the alley, and that we won't have those that traffic to contend with. On Beamiston, it's not shown here, but there's an entry to the Sterling Bank building. So we'll be removing that and replacing that with the streetscape and lighting. And then on Carondelet, there are actually 2 entries to the parking garage, and we're going to eliminate one of those, and we'll replace that with streetscape and lighting. So so that's what we'll be doing to the site to continue forward, including removing the existing buildings. We can go to the next one. This is a little drawing that we put together to just show the heights around the site. So our building is 225 foot tall, and you can see the buildings to the east of us get up to 400 feet tall with the Centene project. The Pierre Laclede building is 220 and 300 feet tall. So we're a little lower than most of the buildings to the east of us. And just for reference, the project we designed at 212 South Merrimack is 280 foot tall. So we're 55 feet less than that with our project. So I just wanted to put that in there so you can get a feel for how tall the building is. And then on our site plan here, you can see on Carondelet, we've got the entry. We removed an entry, and we have the entry to the parking garage, where we'll have 350 spaces to support the development. Along the Carondelet Avenue, we will have a landscape area all the way through there with landscape with it. So we'll have a kind of a sculpture garden along there. We'll commission an artist to work with us in that regard. As we get to the corner, we have the entry to the retail bank, Sterling Bank. It's shown in blue there. The next entry is to the lobby for the multifamily. And then we have an entry to first floor retail, and that's shown in blue there. Along the alley is loading and trash dumpsters and generators and not Union Electric, they're no longer around, Ameren transformers and so forth. On the very right-hand side, we've got a setback there that we're going to have a green area for a dog park for the building tenants of the project. So that pretty well describes the plan on the site. And you can see we've shown trees at specified distances with the city. We're adding quite a few trees along the street. And then we've got a whole series of drawings that illustrate the project pretty well for conceptual so that you understand it. I don't think we need to go through and labor over all the straight elevations, but let me just take you through this. On the southeast, the right-hand drawing there, we have a pretty nice view of the parking garage with a green wall on the facade of it. So that's something different for Clayton, and we're pretty excited about that. On the top deck, we have a amenity area with a pool. The pool's shown in blue there. And then we've continued a deck over the parking. So we've introduced a green area, a green roof area, and some solar panels. So our occupants be looking down, they won't be looking at automobile parking. And then our building, the tan color there on the multifamily units is terracotta. And you can see that we've got it interrupted with balconies and windows. And at the corner, we have a glass corner on the Beamiston side and the Carondelet side. It turns the corner and goes across the frontage on Beamiston. So you can see that there. And we've got some other elevations we'll get into shortly on that. But you can see the balconies that are part of the unit, similar to 212, and then it's a glass facade. On the rooftop, we poke up a little level there with an amenity area with an outdoor area, each side of it looking east and looking west. So we'll look downtown to see the arch, I think, maybe we can get around all those buildings. And we'll look to the west to see the sunset. So we end up with 15 levels of multifamily. So that's the that above the amenity deck. We'll go to the next one. Here you can see the alley side. So we've taken the alley side and up above the parking structure, and we've continued with the terracotta facade to the corner where we have the balconies to interrupt the materials. And then we pick up the glass and turn the glass down Beamiston. Down at the lower level, we've taken the glass a little farther. And then we've got a screen fabric. We need some open space, but it might be a metal fabric or metal panel similar to 212. And then on grade level, we've got all the back of house stuff with the loading docks and everything else that's required. On the left, you can see maybe a better view of the solar array and the green roof and the amenity deck. Then we got some street views here. If you're looking at the, well, we got the wrong one in front. So on the street view, if you're looking at the right-hand one, you can see the green wall in the entry to the parking structure. Below that, we'll have the kind of gray area there. We'll have an architectural precast, kind of vertical ribbed. We're working on that detail. To the left of there, you can see the first level bank, and then we have a level of office above it, and a level of amenity, and then we've got an open amenity area that's adjacent to the pool, and then from that deck above, we have the multifamily. And then on the left, you can see the poke up at the top just for that gathering space and the outdoor viewing areas looking east and looking west. Let's go to the next one. Here you can see on the right-hand side, you can get a better picture of the Beamiston elevation. And you can see how we've interrupted the glazing with the amenity deck and then stacked the multifamily above it. On the lower level, the second level, we have an outdoor area for Sterling Bank, an outdoor gathering area as part of their program. And you can see that cut out in the facade. And then to the left, you really see the fall off of the parking going, I mean, the alley going down to all the services. And then this is a closer look at the green wall, the facade of the garage, and we surrounded that with the terracotta. And then to the left, you can see all the blue is the office, and then above it is the residential. A little closer view of that. You can see on the flush front, we have a vertical fin that's a light line there, and then the rest of the glazing would be butt glazing, and then the surround at the base is a composite metal surround, and that's likewise the same up above where the amenity level is, and the multifamily starts above it. At the ground plane, we've got some planters in between a colonnade of columns there that are in between the entries. So we've introduced the terracotta wall there with landscape material. And then you can see the entries, corner entry to the bank, and then the center entry to the lobby, multifamily, and the one to the far left is to the retail space. And then up above, you get kind of a picture here of the glass window wall for the multifamily area. Then we'll have a horizontal member there that's aluminum at the slab edge. So it interrupt the metal panel. I mean, interrupt the glazing, and it'll just be a slab cover. And then we're talking about a vertical butt glazed system there for the curtain wall up above. So we have on the left, you can see the top level with the interior amenity space with the lighter shade of green each side looking east and west. And then to the right of that, you can see our typical floor layout where we have 18 units per floor for a total of 270 units. And then the third floor amenity to the right of that is the shaded area that we're working on the layouts of that. The fourth floor down to the left there is the interior amenity that we cut back, and we create that covered area, and then to the outdoor pool deck. And then the third and fourth floor, well, the blue area right in the center there is just office space. And that's about 10,800 square foot of office. So this is some precedent images to show you. The one on the left is the terracotta panels. So terracotta is a clay product, like a brick, only it's larger panels, more contemporary looking. And you can see that application there. You can see the center with the green wall, where they're working on the green wall, the man on the ladder. You can see below there the slab edge, where the windows are on the multifamily. And then at the ground plane, you can see some of the composite metal kind of treatment we're talking about. And then up above, you can see the glazing. So the one on the left is pretty similar to what we're talking about. And then beyond that, I've got elevations, straight on elevations that I'll just say the same things about all the materials. So I think I can turn it back over for questions.
Okay, thanks, Jack. Before we go ahead, David, are there any hands raised in the audience?
No, sir.
No. Okay, thank you. Well, Jack, I have to commend you for all the functions that you've gotten into this less than 1 acre piece of property. There's a lot going on here. A lot of it, I think, is very well thought through. But of course, I do have a few questions. Let's just start with you had in what was submitted a sheet that I don't think you showed, and it was it sort of indicated, yes, it was called the first floor site plan, and that's where you enter the garage on Carondelet.
Yes,
There it is.
there it is. Yes.
But that is actually one level below the retail bank. Is that correct?
That is correct. The Carondelet Boulevard is fallen about 13 feet from the corner to the entry.
Okay. So with that, the bank or public parking comes in and goes to the left and goes around and goes down one level. Is that correct?
No, it will come in on that level, Steve, and it will be a surface level there all the way around. So it's below the bank level because of the fallen grade. So it will be a surface level at the entry, and it'll just be into the embankment going to the left, but it won't drill down into the site any farther. And then straight ahead will be the ramp going up to the ramp of the additional parking for the residential.
So then on the sheet with the 7 floor plans, it looks like the garage first level has parking below the retail there.
Yes, it does.
Okay,
yes.
So that is underground at the corner of Beamiston and Carondelet.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So then, okay, then I was a little confused with the previous drawing that you had, because it looked like a composite of the first level of the garage and the first floor of the bank, that one.
Yeah, what I was trying to do was a site plan including the first floor plan. So,
right.
Yeah.
Okay, I think my confusion is gone now. What we're seeing is actually 2 different levels, and you're representing the site plan with this. Okay, that helps. how many square feet are in the retail area, not the bank?
It will be about 1,000 square feet.
And that would be set up retail where we could expect sales tax maybe,
I would assume so, yes.
but not from the retail bank.
I think that's correct.
Okay. So it's very little sales tax producing. Okay. Where is any public green space? We see a dog run, but that's really private to the residents. And we see up on the 4th level, I believe, the amenity deck, but that's private also. Is there any public green area?
We have the green area along Carondelet in front of the building right there. And that's where we were talking about a landscape and sculpture area.
Well, that's a nice planting bed. I'm not really sure if it would count as public green space, but that's something we may decide in the future. I believe you'll be looking for a PUD on this. And if so, there are many benefits that the city will want. So I advise you to review all those items. While we're on that 4th level, or maybe it's the 5th level, where the solar panels are, what capacity will those solar panels provide power to the complex?
That I don't know yet, Steve. So we thought it'd be a great idea to put that, to have the solar panels and generate some power. Not certain how much we can get out of there, so we still need to do those studies with a consultant.
Okay. I think it's a great idea. I hope we'll see more of it as we go forward. But my concern is in the afternoon, are those panels going to be shaded by the building itself?
Yeah, it's our concern too. So we had that entire area solar, and then we did a shading study real quick, and we said, maybe we should have a green roof and less solar. So that's why we reduced it to what you see there. But we need to go through the analysis, the engineering analysis on that, which we'll do before we make our submittal.
Well, I again commend you for making sure that residents do not look down on the top of an open parking deck. I think that's a great idea. I hope that financially the green roof can stay as we go forward. The apartment sizes concern me a little bit. How big are they?
I'll get that plan just a second. We have the 2-bedroom units are average 1,000, 40, 50 square feet, somewhere around there. They kind of vary. The 1-bedroom average is about 750 square feet.
Okay, so then you would be complying with what Anissa read to us. Each residential unit contain a floor area no less than 750 square feet.
And then we do have some smaller units that are kind of like 1-bedroom with a balcony. We cut the balcony in, and those are less than that. So they're at 705 square feet. And they might get down to 685.
Are they studio
So they vary.
bedroom?
Pardon me?
Sorry, are they studio or 1 bedroom?
We do have some studios. Those get down to 630 square feet. The 1-bedroom with the balconies about 705 is an average. So we do have some units below the 750 square feet.
Okay. Well, I think that will be up to you. We do have that 750 square foot requirement, but as you go forward, we'd like you to reconsider it. Okay, let's look. I do have a few comments on the exterior of the building, which would be more architectural. And my first thought is we're looking at two different buildings that have been grafted together. One is basically a sleek glass building. The other is basically a terracotta, if I'm reading it correctly, with more punched openings. And to me, they seem to be in conflict. And part of that conflict is where the dividing line, where the two come together. I see them because the glass building at the Beamiston-Carondelet intersection appears to be higher, but they don't really have much of a break except for those recessed balconies. Now, that same thing happens on the north side where you wrap the glass around a bit. Each one has a good appearance to me, but when you put them together, I feel there's a real conflict in it. My second comment about the building is it looks very reminiscent of the plan of 212 South Merrimack. However, it's sheathed differently in both the east and the west side. I'm just making that comment that it seems massive, flat, except for the recessed balconies, and it still seems like two different buildings to me, but I'll leave it at that. I don't want to hog the whole time. Let's move on to some of our other members. Carolyn?
You skip me for a second. I'm looking at something.
Sure.
Thanks.
George?
Sure. I would like to first start out to say that I appreciate seeing the green roof over the parking spots. And it's been one of my complaints for a while is that we've got all these flat roofs and it's a lot of wasted space. And I think we could do a better job with that. So the green roofs over the parking, I really do appreciate. As far as the exterior of the building, I think we do need a little bit more articulation throughout, especially on the entrances to the commercial space. Looking at the plans, I just don't see that my eye is drawn to that very well. I kind of agree with Stephen on the transition between the terracotta and the glass. It is striking, but at the same time, in some ways I find it appealing and in other ways I don't find it appealing too. So I'm a little mixed on that one. Question though, in the plans though, when you get down to it, it looks like there's only one loading dock for this building. And I thought that might be a little bit insufficient. So I would like, city may need to be looking at that one. And I did not see any bicycle racks in any of the drawings, and I may have just missed it, but I'm wondering where those are at.
But we haven't really moved to that detail yet, George.
Okay, totally understand that one as well. And I'm sure the next detail I'm going to get to as well is you're bringing a lot of sustainable attributes here to this building, electronic vehicle charging stations. Do you have plans to bring those in as well?
Yes, we do.
Great. Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, I'm ready now.
Okay, Carolyn.
All right, thank you for waiting. Actually, leave it on that slide, which is really nice. I agree with a lot of Steve's comments, but when it comes to the building, having the sort of ice cube in the front and then the other side being a little bit different, I actually like the way that looks. I like the little divider on the front that sort of tries to tie it together. I think that could be pushed a little bit further architecturally. I was looking at the solar panels, and I don't think you're going to get the return that you really would like to be able to brag about it, how much you saved and how much you saved, you know, carbon footprint and all that good stuff. So I would look at that, maybe increasing that. I don't know if you can go up to the very top to add additional items. The question I have about the solar panels is not a question, it's more of a comment. If you're going to create the green roof and those solar panels are not really as functional as you would hope, it might be interesting to actually try to incorporate them into the overall design of the green roof, as opposed to having it like be just a separate thing. I mean, I've seen many creative ways, thanks, of creating like interesting structures out of the solar panels that become part of the landscape of a green roof. So if you're curious about any of those projects, you can always email me or find me through the department. But the other question I have about is the green wall. There's a parking lot across the street. I actually walked all the projects for this because I needed an excuse to get out in this wonderful snow. So I walked all of them and I saw, the parking lot across the street, what happens when that gets developed? That is no longer going to be south facing and sunny, right? It's going to get shaded. So I would consider some kind of articulation to that facade that could become interesting when the plants are dead, or if they're not winter interest plants, what does it look like then? So just to consider that a little bit further. I think that's what I had. I also noticed that the apartment sizes were very tiny. That's why I was asking about the studios. And I think my favorite elevation is the Beamiston elevation. So that's all I had in my comments. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Carolyn. Helen?
Yes, I would agree with Steve's comments on the elevations. I am particularly interested in that north elevation because when I walk, I'm coming from the north, and I think if you thought about the context, the adjacent buildings to the north along Beamiston are low buildings. They may change and they may never change. I have heard many times before, oh, the buildings, those low buildings will disappear. And the low buildings have not disappeared, and it's been a considerable amount of time. So I think we do need to see context for the proposed project. And when you look at the context to the north along Beamiston, that north elevation of the project becomes very visible. And when you look at it on the sheet, the bird's eye view from the north, you've turned the corner nicely just so far. Yes, you need to have a loading dock, and loading docks are never great aesthetically, but they're a fact of life, and it is only one, so it won't be too bad. But you continue, you have fins along part of the parking garage, but then they disappear. I don't know that that part of the building, that lower portion where you have the solar array, I don't know that that will disappear from view as you're walking south along Beamiston. I think you will see it, and you'll realize that the garage is handled, that portion of the building that is garage is handled in two different ways. The eastern part it'll be very visible that it's a garage. The western half will look like it's a garage, but there's been some decorative elements added to it, so you don't have this brutal garage facing you. It almost looks like, well, the budget ran out, so we stopped with the fins along that part of the garage. So I think the north elevation, the lower portion is not going to be as hidden as we all might hope. It will be very visible. And unless we get some high rises where Cafe Napoli is and going down Beamiston headed south, that north elevation doesn't really enhance the other elevations. What you see first is something that is the least desirable elevation. So with all of that, I would work on the north elevation. I share Carolyn's comments about the green wall, that plants, we all know, some take off without any help. Others, with all the help in the world, don't want to do anything but curl up and die. So I think we need to plan for that eventuality. So I think you've got a good start. I'm looking forward to what we see next.
Thank you, Helen. Appreciate your comments.
David?
I just want to say that I agree with the previous concerns with the building articulation. I think that's something that definitely needs to be considered on the north side, really on the west side as well, where I think it does mimic 212 to some extent, and they're almost facing each other. But also, I guess one of my bigger concerns is if you can go to that view from the south, where the garage entrance is at. One thing that seems to hinder us somewhat here in Clayton, in the downtown areas, is we have these stretches where you'll walk across an entire block and you can't really engage with it because you have a garage or you just have solid walls. I think about the county courts building that's on Bonham there, and it's just a solid wall the entire length. Same with that building along Merrimack, without any openings along that stretch other than the garage entrance itself. You know, I do have some concern with the pedestrian experience along there, and I just want to make sure that we aren't killing blocks. So even if you do have limited access like this, please be mindful of the treatment and the placemaking in that area so that isn't a harsh block to walk. Because as soon as you do that, you start to fragment the downtown area. We have that in several sections, and I'd hate to see it happen again. So if you could think about openings on that stretch, if there's any other way to put another entry there, to add some sort of interest to that stretch of wall, I think in the end that would pay dividends. So that's all.
Okay, thank you, David. I believe Ira has departed. Is that correct?
That's correct. He had indicated earlier today he was going to be available until 7.
Okay, thank you. Jack or Josh, do you have any other comments or questions for us?
No, not at this time, Steve. Really great feedback, and we'll see what we can make out of it.
Okay. Well, you know, as you've heard before, well, you've heard all of our comments tonight. They're given hopefully to be constructive and help you go further in the process. And we'll see what you come back with next. The other thing, this of course is a conceptual review. And if there are any public comments, we will hold them for the public hearings that will be coming up when you come back and you actually get the process moving forward. So if you have nothing else, we will conclude the conceptual review of 50 Beamiston.
No, I think we're good.
Okay, thanks, Jack. And
thank you.
we'll look forward to meeting with you again.
Very good. Thank you, everybody.
Mhm.
Mr. Chair, one other thing I would mention, there was a community conference held for this particular project. So any public input that was gathered during that process, that'll be passed along to the Plan Commission and the Board of Aldermen with a formal application at the time that's submitted. So I did want the public to rest assured that any comments they made will be in the record when this comes forward.
Okay, thank you, David. Okay. Before we conclude, I see Susan is on, I don't see her, but I see she's connected. And Susan, I believe tonight is your last meeting. And I wanted to say thank you, for the last decade plus of your professionalism and leadership and expertise. And I think we've all benefited from it. But more than any of us, I think the city of Clayton has benefited from your efforts. We certainly wish you the best in your new chapter in Springfield. And we'll always welcome you back, either Zoom in or come on back and visit in person. Hopefully that'll occur soon. So best wishes to you, and thanks for everything you've done.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's been my honor and privilege to work for the city of Clayton and to work for all of you and our elected officials and our citizens. It's just been a pleasure. I've looked forward to these meetings every night or every week we have them, or every other week. They've been great, and you all have been great to work with, and I will never forget you, and I will never forget the city. It's a very special place, and I've been blessed to have spent some of my career here, and happy to make a difference. It's been really exciting. I apologize, I've got a mask on because I'm sitting here with Lori Wilson, and I've been training her tonight on taking minutes, so I apologize if I've been a little disconnected from the meeting, but we've been talking off camera, and I've been showing her how to organize the minutes and that sort of thing. So I thank you very much. I'll miss you guys, and good luck in the future, and please give Anissa a lot of support. She's a great employee, and she'll be doing great things for the city as well. So thank you.
Okay.
You will
Thanks.
be missed, for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Let's see, George? No.
No additional comments.
Helen?
No, just Susan will miss you.
Carolyn?
George, we're gonna miss you too. Is this your last one too? Oh, I was like, oh, we forgot about George.
No. I'm here till the end of March, so you've got.
We
me.
have to
Oh,
put
okay,
up
good.
with him. 3 more meetings.
Oh, well, he's across the street from me, so if he really makes me mad, there's eggs in my fridge that I can just.
I was afraid I was going to get those over the weekend with the weather, so.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, Susan, we will miss you for sure, me particularly. So.
David?
Just thank you to Susan. We're all going to miss you.
Anissa?
I've already told Susan that I'll miss her, so don't need to rehash that. I think she knows, but I appreciate you, Susan, and I wish you all the best. As far as upcoming meeting, just a reminder that it's on Wednesday. There's a holiday on that Monday, and then a Board of Aldermen meeting the following Tuesday. There will be a few things on the agenda. I'm not going to promise what number that will be because it seems to always be in flex, but there will be an agenda.
Okay. Well, thank you. We'll look forward to that meeting. And again, good luck, Susan. Thanks for everything. And we'll see everyone else in 2 weeks and 2 days. Okay. Thanks and good night.
That's good. Good night.